Well, we are on your side and answering the call, and today we're talking about staying safe during and after the storms. Very timely, especially after what we saw in the last 24 hours. And thankfully the storms have passed, but now the debris and the damage left behind. Joining us today is Shreveport Police Corporal Chris Bordelon from SPD Shreveport Police. Chris, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me today.
Buddy, there's a lot going on still across the area, and yeah, that's why we wanted to dive into this too. I know when I drove to work today, still a lot of tree limbs down, things like that. So let's just jump right into it. First, we'll talk about driving. Some folks possibly maybe needing to head out and about, go to the store, get caught up on those groceries. What are some things that people need to keep in mind out there when it comes to dealing with the aftermath of yesterday's storm?
Absolutely. Well, yesterday we obviously experienced some very severe storms. What we ask people is to travel sparingly. If you don't have to go somewhere, don't at this time. We don't want people going out sightseeing, trying to look at the damage, because we still have crews actively in many areas working scenes where there's power lines down, trees down, and that can be problematic the more people that are on the roadway. The Shreveport area was not as heavy hit as some of our outlying areas. So at Shreveport, we still were working currently about 10 different sites where we had power lines down or trees down. Fortunately, they weren't on any of our major thoroughfares, but many of our outlying rural communities were hit very hard by this storm. So we want to encourage those viewers from outside the city limits to travel sparingly and really just reserve any roadway usage for emergencies.
Great advice right there. I think we've all seen some of those cars driving slowly through those neighborhoods affected. I'd like to ask you this too, Chris. When it comes to still a lot of power outages, we just showed those numbers a little bit ago, but let's just say that a senior citizen may be living by herself. She doesn't have power. She's kind of concerned, a little scared. What are some things that maybe you guys can do to offer some relief, especially with someone that may be dealing with these tough times by themselves?
Well, that's a really great question, because we do have members of our community without power right now, and as the day goes, it's going to get hot. So we want to encourage our citizens, and especially our family members, if you have elderly family members, reach out to those persons, ensure they have power, ensure they have water. People that are in their residences that don't have power, don't have water, some of them require electricity for medical devices. If it becomes an emergency, reach out to, if you're in Shreveport, reach out to the Shreveport Police Department or Fire Department, and we can render those services and get that person to an area where they're able to get the medical treatment they need.
Fantastic. And you guys are always on the beat. We just want to point that out. Just because if a neighborhood doesn't have power, SPD, you guys are in several locations too. There's always officers out there that are willing to lend a helping hand. Absolutely.
Our officers were out all night long dealing with the aftermath of the storm. We still have guys out on the road 24/7. The Shreveport Police Department, we're never closed, so we're offering services around the clock.
And you're always on the clock as well, and that's why we appreciate you being here, Chris. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
And if you have any issues at all, if you live in the Shreveport area, SPD, they are there to help you, and so is Chris. So if you have a question for this segment in particular, our answering the call segment, you can email us to pressreleases@ktbs.com. Include a portion of your question there in the subject headline, and watch every single Tuesday as we get some answers for you. And we want you to stay safe out there. And you too, Chris. Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll have much more to come here on KTBS 3 News right after this.